Welcome to Lady C's podcast on Pearls of Wisdom, the show where we deep dive into the different facets of wisdom. I'm your host, Lady C, and each week we explore the topic titled Pearls of Wisdom from every angle, uncovering captivating truths and sharing insights that will leave you informed and inspired. Whether you are a seasoned enthusiast or just starting to explore facets on wisdom, this podcast is your go-to resource for thought-provoking discussions, practical tips, and entertaining anecdotes. I believe that Pearls of Wisdom has the power to transform lives, and my mission is to bring you the most engaging and informative topics and content to help you navigate this exciting landscape. In each episode, we'll explore a wide range of wisdom-related topics, from personal stories and practical advice. Without further ado, let's dive in. Within our topic of wisdom, our focus for today is on overcoming, and we'll discuss the following. Number 1, what do we mean by overcoming? Number 2, what are the different types of issues that need overcoming? Number 3, what not to do when faced with obstacles or problems so that you overcome? Number 4, what to actually do in that situation? And lastly, we'll explore examples of well-known overcomers. So the question arises, what is overcoming? The term refers to successfully facing and surpassing challenges, obstacles, or difficulties in one's life. It implies a process of dealing with hardship, adversity, persevering and finding ways to move forward or move ahead despite the challenges in one's path. When you overcome something, it typically means that you've managed to strive ahead, conquer or master a particular obstacle or problem. It involves identifying root causes, finding solutions, developing resilience, and taking action to beat the difficulties that you encounter. Overcoming can apply to various aspects of life, including emotional issues, personal, physical issues, relational or professional challenges. The issues often involve personal growth, learning from experiences, and developing inner strength and determination. Issues that need overcoming are different for different people at different times, and they include the following. Number 1, personal limitations. What do we mean? These limitations can include such things as disabilities, health conditions, or physical impairments that limit a person's mobility, their strength, or endurance. An example would be someone with a disability who may have limitations to do physical activities. Number 2, adversity and trauma. Life can present individuals with various forms of adversity, such as loss. An example would be a death of a loved one, a parent losing a child losing a parent, loss of family members to death, or friends dying. Experiencing abuse is another form of adversity and trauma. Financial difficulties, failure to pay off debt in time, or major life transitions, such as relocating to a new country or a new area. Fear and anxiety is another issue that one may need to overcome. And this is fear of the unknown sometimes, and anxiety of what could happen. This can hold people back from pursuing their goals and their dreams. Fear and anxiety can literally be paralyzing or disabling of one to move forward, to take reasonable action. Many times, however, there is no need for fear to take place. And I like the saying that fear stands for false evidence appearing real. Another issue that needs to be overcome is negative thinking patterns. And these can significantly impact a person's well-being, their self-esteem, and overall outlook on life. These include, number 1, catastrophizing. This is when a person expects the worst case scenario to happen. This also appears as blowing things out of proportion. Number 2, personalization. This happens when one takes things personally and assumes that everything is about them and is aimed at them. Number 3, the imposter syndrome. This refers to where individuals doubt their skills, their accomplishments, or abilities, and have a continual fear of being exposed as an imposter or fraud. This is despite proof of their success, their abilities, and competence. And individuals experiencing imposter syndrome tend to undermine their own achievements, feeling that they are not deserving of their achievements and that they have fooled others into thinking they are more competent than they believe themselves to be. They may also compare themselves to others, constantly seeking justification and fearing that they will be exposed as incompetent, inadequate, or a fraud. It is, however, important to note that imposter syndrome is not based on objective reality, but is a distortion of one's self-perception, as many people who experience this are actually capable, qualified, and experienced despite their self-doubt. Procrastination and lack of motivation is another negative thinking pattern, and this can obstruct progress and hinder achievement and needs overcoming. Moving on, we'll talk about relational issues, and this relates to difficulties in personal relationships such as conflict, trust issues, toxic relationships, and communication problems. This can be challenging to overcome. Rejection is also something that needs overcoming under the relationship issues pillar, especially when it comes from loved ones or revered people in one's life that reject them. A daughter's rejection by her father is an example of that. A lesbian's rejection by her parent because of who she is. Loss of employment, divorce, or death of a loved one. Another issue needing overcoming is cultural and social barriers. And social barriers based on factors such as gender, sexuality, race, or economic status can present significant challenges. Discrimination and prejudice are also types of obstacles which can often be silent and difficult to prove. And these advancing in one's career, changing careers, or dealing with job-related stress can be obstacles to overcome. Office politics also poses as a challenge that needs address, especially when it becomes too apparent and draining. Addiction and substance abuse is another issue, and this can have severe consequences on individuals' lives and the lives of those around them. Financial difficulties are another issue needing overcoming, and this is financial struggles, debt, failing to pay it off, or the inability to meet basic needs. This can cause significant stress. Now we'll talk about what not to do when you're faced with difficulties, challenges, or obstacles. The first one, do not panic. Panic can cloud your judgment, and this will often lead to impulsive, wrong actions that may worsen the situation. This is to be avoided. Instead, try to stay calm and composed, as this will help you to think more clearly. You must not ignore or deny the problem. This won't make it go away. I know of a woman who opted to ignore the brown envelopes of debt that she kept receiving in the post. This only led to her losing her car and a house, and she ended up living with relatives. It could have been avoided. Do not isolate yourself. And it's natural to feel overwhelmed during difficult times. However, isolating yourself from friends, family, or support systems can make things even harder. Avoid making hasty decisions. And you find that sometimes during times of adversity, one is faced with having to make decisions at the same time. Major decisions made under pressure or under strain may not be well thought out and could have long-lasting consequences. Avoid blaming others. It is common behavior to assign blame during troubled times. This is unfortunately quite disruptive, and it rarely leads to constructive solutions. You must avoid neglecting your self-care, because this can exacerbate stress and make it harder to cope. An important one also is avoiding over-reliance on substances. This relates to turning to drugs, to alcohol, or to other substances to try and cope with troubles. And this can lead to dependency and further complications. Avoid the urge to take revenge, because turning to revenge often ends up with deep regret. It is not a healthy or productive approach to resolve conflict and often leads to the following: escalation of conflict, legal consequences, emotional toll, damage to relationships, loss of respect, and this leads to guilt and regret for action taken. We'll now talk about what you need to do when you're faced with challenges in order for you to overcome them. Number 1, take a step back and assess the situation. Take time to evaluate the nature and severity of the trouble or challenge that you need to overcome. Understanding the situation will help you make informed decisions about the steps you need to take next. A wise man once told me years ago that when in trouble, suck yourself out of the situation so that you can have an overview of the challenge you're facing from an outside perspective. Actions taken from this stance tend to be wiser and more objective. You must stay calm, because it's crucial to make sure that you see yourself on the other side. Panicking or letting emotions overwhelm you can hinder your ability to think clearly and make rational decisions. In fact, avoid making decisions when you're emotionally charged, because the decision or decisions that you make will likely not be the right ones. And when it comes to decision making, whenever possible, take the time to gather information, deliberate on your options first, weigh the pros and cons of each option to ensure you're taking the best one forward, and when needed, seek advice before making important choices. Reach out for help is another thing that you need to do where needed. Don't hesitate to seek assistance from others. Reach out to family, to friends, to community, or trusted individuals who may be able to provide support, guidance, or practical help. Others may offer fresh perspectives, offer you advice, or even direct assistance in resolving the trouble. Seek professional help if this is needed. It is vital. And in seeking professional help, it is beneficial to reach out for professional help sooner rather than later. This is in cases where the trouble involves legal matters, health issues, or any other area where specialized knowledge is required. Consider reaching out to professionals such as lawyers, doctors, or therapists. Overcoming financial difficulties might involve creating a budget, seeking financial advice, developing a new skill in order for you to find additional sources of income. Addiction and substance abuse is one issue as well we spoke about earlier that needs overcoming when one is ready. And overcoming addiction and substance abuse often involves professional treatment, support groups, and making lifestyle changes to support the recovery. Problem solving is another way of addressing the problem. Try to break down the trouble into smaller chunks. There's a saying that goes, "You cannot eat the elephant at one go. Instead, chop it up or dice it into 1,000 pieces." This breaks down the problem into manageable components and will help you in identifying potential root causes to avoid recurrence where possible, and will also help in identifying potential or best solutions. Consider the resources and options available to you and weigh the pros and cons of each approach. Brainstorming and considering different perspectives can help generate ideas for addressing the problem you may be facing. You must take action is another point. Once you've identified the potential solutions, take action on the most viable and appropriate course of action. Implement your plan step by step. Write it down if you need to, whilst remaining flexible and adjusting as necessary based on the evolving solution. It's better to confront the problem head-on and take appropriate action to address it rather than pretending it does not exist. Learn from the experience. Obstacles and troubles needing to be overcome can serve as valuable learning experiences. Take the opportunity to reflect on the situation and identify any lessons or insights you can gain from it. This reflection can help you grow, can help you develop resilience, and it can enable you to be better prepared to handle future challenges. Another point we spoke about was negative thinking, and how do you overcome this? Firstly, it's important to start by becoming self-aware of your negative thoughts and patterns and the triggers thereof. Self-awareness and mindfulness are important, and once you recognize them, then challenge their validity and their accuracy. Ask yourself, is there evidence to support my self-beliefs? Look for more positive stances. Replace negative thoughts with more realistic positive ones, and proceed to adopt positive self-talk and affirmations. If you find yourself thinking, "I'm a failure," replace with, "I have the ability to learn and to grow from my experiences." It's important also to challenge perfectionism, because many of us seek that, and we know perfectionism is not possible. No one is perfect after all. And surround yourself with positive and supportive people and supportive influences. It's important to take care of yourself and prioritize self-care during times of trouble. Engage in activities that help manage stress, practice relaxation techniques, maintain a healthy lifestyle, and seek emotional support when needed. Taking care of yourself will enable you to better cope with the challenges you're facing. Make sure to prioritize rest, eat nutritious meals, engage in activities that help manage your stress levels and that bring you joy, and seek support when needed. Taking care of self is vital in the process of overcoming obstacles. Avoid taking revenge. It often leads to harm for self and others and great regret in the end. Ask yourself, in fact, is my revenge really worth it? And will I be able to live with the consequences thereafter? It's important to forgive others and also to forgive yourself. In fact, there's a saying that goes, unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. We all know that life doesn't work that way. Remember that unforgiveness only does harm to self, and the right step for you is to forgive and to let go. When you forgive, you release yourself from the burden of negative emotions and you free up mental and emotional space for healing, peace, and happiness. Letting go of the past and forgiving yourself and others allows you to move forward. It also enables you to release the attachments to hurtful or disappointing experiences and enables you to focus on the present moment and future possibilities. By forgiving, you break the cycle of dwelling on past grievances and you create space for joy and personal growth. In fact, research advocates that forgiveness is associated with improved physical and mental health outcomes. Letting go of negative emotions and practicing forgiveness can reduce stress. It can reduce anxiety, and it helps with depression. It may also have positive effects on blood pressure, immune function, and overall well-being. Lastly, we'll talk about some of the examples of well-known overcomers. Stephen King is one example. In his first novel, called Carrie, Stephen King was turned down by 30 different publishers. He was so distraught that he threw the novel in the bin afterwards. Luckily for him, however, his wife later pulled it out from the trash and encouraged him to persevere and complete it. King's books to date have now sold over 350 million copies. And his book, Carrie, has become a classic with many film and TV additions to its name. We've all heard about Albert Einstein. He didn't speak at all for the first 3 years of his life. But even though he received good grades and throughout primary and elementary school, many of his teachers assumed he was lazy, hard to work with, because he was always distracted by abstract concepts. Despite the lack of confidence that many adults showed towards Einstein, he rose above such negativity and developed the theory of relativity. Another example is Vincent van Gogh. He produced over 900 paintings, yet only Red Vineyard of Isles was sold whilst he was alive. Van Gogh only sold one painting during his lifetime. While he may not have physically overcome his challenges in his waking life, his never give up attitude and persistence and dedication to his work are worthy to be praised. In closing, Lady C says this: we all face challenges. We all encounter obstacles and difficulties at different times of our lives. It's, however, part of life as we wake each day for all of us. With a little wisdom, a little bit of encouragement, with love and perseverance, we all can cross over to being overcomers. Nothing is impossible, only if you believe. Do share this episode with your friends, with your colleagues and family, because you never do know who is in need of pearls of wisdom. With that said, this is your host, Lady C, signing out and saying, keep learning, keep growing, and be encouraged. And remember, you've got this. Goodbye.